Welcome everyone. So today we'll be discussing one more advanced feature which is there in Microsoft Excel now. We all have heard about the upcoming advancements in artificial intelligence. A new feature which is launched by Microsoft is Copilot. This is a feature which is specifically launched by Microsoft. So we'll be discussing that in our today's tutorial. For example, we have, let's say, this data where let's say we have gone on a trip and then we somehow wrote a summary of all the expenses that we have done. So we have the weekday and then we have the dates on which day we made these transactions. What is the category of these transactions, whether these transactions were made for flight, for transportation, for food, lodging, and what was the amount. So this is the budgeted amount. So basically we have done some budgeting that this is what we have been planning for our trip. So this is the budget that we have, and then we have a different sheet which is the bank statement. So based on our bank statement we also have the results of how much we spent on each of these category. So for example, if we look at this bank statement, we have the transaction date, so on which date the transaction was made, the type of transaction, how much was the amount that we paid, the currency in which we paid the amount, and then flight, which is basically the description of what actually the transaction is about, and then we have the category. So we are providing the category. You can see that in both these data sets we have some common columns. So this is mainly a budget and this is the bank statement. So what we can do is we can try to reconcile our data. So we can basically match and see how good we were in terms of budgeting and in terms of our actual expense. So what we can do is here you can see that date. So we have done a budgeting where on each date we have the category. So we have the amount that we are spending or that we will be spending according to our budget. We have the dates and then we have the category also. Similarly, here we have the dates on which we made these transactions. We have the category here as well, and then we have the amount that we actually spent. So we can actually see how good we were in terms of our budgeting, and then we can see how our bank statements is aligning to the budget that we have done. But in order to do is this entire exercise, we have a new feature which is Copilot. So what you have to do is you don't have to learn any advanced feature of Excel in order to achieve this. What you can do is simply you can see in home. Let me show you all the available options. So you can see Copilot for Finance is one of the add-ins. If you can't find it, what you have to do, go to add-ins. In add-ins, you can search for Copilot for Finance, and then you can see this is the feature. Once I click on it, if you have not added this add-in in the past, it might ask you to do a login with your Microsoft account. So it has a preview version which is a free version, and then you also have the advanced versions which can help you do much more. But let's say with the free version, what all we can do. So what we can do is we can do a reconcile data in which from the first worksheet, so it automatically takes the information, and you can change it also, but by default it takes some information. So what it is taking is from worksheet 1, it is taking trip budget, which is the table here. One thing which I would like to call out is that this data which we are providing, it has to be of the table format. If it is not in the table format, you will not be able to use this add-in. But what you can do, if it is not in the add-in format, you can basically select the data. So you can select basically the entire data, and then in the insert you can click on table. Once you will do that, it will be converted into a table format. For example, if I have A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Let's say this is a very small table, but this is not a tabular format right now. In order to make it a table, I can just go to insert, click on table, and then it will say okay, and then it will be a table now. So I'll just remove it for now because we don't need it. But that's how you can convert it into table. Once you have the results in both the sheets in the table format, you can see that the worksheet 2 by default it is extracting bank statement as the table. Then you can click on next. Here what you can do is, if it is unable to extract the information here, you can provide the information. So what we need here is the overlapping columns. So first of all, it will be asking us which columns are the mapping columns. So we'll be mapping our information with the overlook with the similar columns. So one such column is date. You can see that here we have the date, and then this date should map with transaction date. So in the bank statement, it should be transaction date. You might see situations where you will have multiple mapping also sometimes. It's not a necessity, but sometimes it can be the case. For example, in our case, we can see that if you have to reconcile the amount that we are spending, we have two columns. One is transaction date, then the other is transaction category. So category is something which is also there in both. So let's say if we can add column, so we can add a column. So this is also a mapping key. So you can see now that we have two mapping key, and then the second mapping key here is expenditure category here, and here it is transaction category. Then the third here is the dollar value. Basically this is the monetary column. So what is the monetary column that we want to reconcile? So we can see that here it is the budget amount, and here it is the amount. So we have amount here, and then we have the budget amount. So we have to reconcile these two data sets. Then click on next. Now you can see that it is reconciling. Once this is done, you can see that a reconciliation report is ready for us. So now this has already compared the data of how much the budget was and how much the bank statement has, and then we have the results. You can see that we only have the Excel output. We don't have the PDF version because for that we have to pay, and we can't do that in preview version. But even here you can see we have good enough information. We can see that we have some potentially matched transactions, we have some unmatched transactions. So what is the difference between them? So the difference is, it says potentially matched, and then you have the matched transactions also. So right now we can only see the unmatched ones and the potentially matched ones, and then you can see the total number of transactions here were 38. In the bank statement, the total number of transactions were 44. So we do expect some non-matching items as well. Let's talk about the potentially matched items. So you can see that food on 19th of February, it says 120, and this is also food on 19th of February 120. So when it says potentially matched, what it is showing is that it is a possibility that it is matching, but whether it's matching and is it a correct match or not, we have to take a call. So this is something, for example, if we go here, we can see that on 19th of February, if we go to the transaction category, we have two transactions. One is of 60 and the other is also of 60. Because we have two transactions, so the sum is coming out to be 120. And then if we go to the budget, here on budget we have only one, which is 120. So because we have two transactions in the bank statement, that's why it is asking us to make a call whether this is a correct conciliation, correct matching or not. So in this case it is a fact. And then similarly we can check for transportation, entertainment and other factors as well. Let's say we can look at transportation. So in the transportation, again we have 70 and 80 as two transactions in the bank statement, so the sum is 150. If we look at here in the budget, we have only one category for transportation for this particular day, which is 150. So that's why the report is showing that it can be a potential match, but we can take a call, and then you can see the difference is 0. And then you can see some of the unmatched transactions. For example, here it says entertainment. So entertainment here on 19th, it is showing 160, and then miscellaneous is 10. So you can see that there are two transactions for this 19th, which is getting in the list of unmatched category. Sum is 170. Here also sum is 170. So in a way the sum is same, but it is somehow not distributed in the same format. Let's see what's happening. So if we look at the budget, in the budget you can see you have entertainment as 160 and miscellaneous is 10. That's what the report is showing. And in the bank statement, again you can see the entertainment for 19th, so we had 30 and miscellaneous is 140. So you can see that the sum is same, but the distribution is not same, and that's why we see this in the list of unmatched transactions. So you can see that this is a very powerful tool which makes your life very easy. You can simply compare any two data sets with this feature. You just have to go to home, click on add-ins, and then you will find it here. If not, once you click, you can search here and it should be available for you. Hope you will like this video. Thanks for watching. Follow for more.